This broadcast from IOF TV is brought to you by T-Cartor and Lumonite.
Hello and welcome to the first round of the Orienteering World Cup. We are live from Olten in Switzerland, where we have got the fantastic semi-finals and finals of the knockout sprint taking place here today. As you'll see in there, lots of pictures from the town. It's now full up with fans, all of these barriers and all of these routes through this arena in the sunshine here. We had the qualification yesterday. For some of the later runners, that was in some pouring rain, but the conditions today are pretty fantastic. We've already had our quarterfinals, as I said, where we had 6 quarterfinals, top 3 made it through, and we will have 3 semi-finals for the men, followed by 3 semi-finals for the women. And it was pretty tight and close this morning in the quarterfinals, wasn't it, Jonas?
It definitely was, and I think it was mostly due to the fact that we didn't have any splitting option here, no forkings, no butterfly. Yeah. It was one course. Usually we see that in the final, but today we had it in the quarterfinal as well. And of course, if you have it like that, it's mostly about the physical capacity in the very end, and we've seen that in almost every heat it was decided on the last meters.
Yeah, it was really, really close, and in fact we had one photo finish which knocked out potentially one of the favourites. Emma Svensk was just knocked out in that photo finish as well.
I mean, it was a photo finish between 2 of the favourites.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe today between Ralph Street and Emma Svensk, and Ralph Street was just a few centimeters ahead of Emil Svensk, so we're going to see him again in the semi-final later on.
Yeah, so they've been racing around some of this area. They had the same finish for this quarterfinal, but the start and the finish will be here in this arena in this kind of old part of the town for these semi-finals. It is the same race, the same course for the men and for the women, and with 2.2 kilometers being the optimum distance, are expecting winning time only 7 to 8 minutes. It's going to be very, very rapid around here as well. We will bring you the full course in just a moment, but of course, I mean, if we start in the men's, in fact, let's bring you the full course then. We can see from this shot here, we've got the river and we've got this network of smaller streets as well, lots of passageways through as well. Jonas, why don't you talk us through the course going out?
As you can see, it's a very typical sprint orienteering for Switzerland, for this kind of old towns we have in Switzerland, many of them. In the beginning, it's, as I said, very typical. Many left or right decisions, a few route choices. Don't expect them to split up too much. In the beginning, it's a knockout sprint, so why should you do it? But it's a runner's choice. This is going to be interesting. Here at Control 5, we have 3 options, A, B, and C. You have them here. Maybe it's a bit hard to see where to go. I think we're going to get back to that. Then arena passage from Control 10 to 11. And the second loop, this one actually, I would say it's quite physical here as well. You have a route choice to Control 13. You can either go to the left or to the right just after Control 12. Go down to the river called Are, here running through Olten. Then Control 14 and back to the last control. It's the same control as control 10 and then to the finish. Here, I think, there's no route choice from 13, 14 to the finish or 15, so it will be very, very physical in the end.
Yeah, I think so, and often we're looking for a kind of point for people to take risks near the end, but this might split them up though, this runner's choice.
Yeah, and it's, as I said, we have 3 different options, A, B and C. I think most of the runners will decide on which one they get the best feeling from. It's mostly about how to get, you see how fluently you can run. Do you have to turn back at any point? That's basically why I wouldn't choose this B option. It's a bit shorter than A. A is quite easy to execute, quite round, but from control 8, you have to back out again, and usually that's when you see that you have to take a quick decision. I wouldn't choose it. Maybe we'll see it. It's quite short, but C for me, it's the shortest one. It's quite easy to execute and no really turn back at any of the controls. So it's for me, I would go for C. I think it's
and
good.
8 is on the southeastern part of that
exactly.
building.
So it's quite easy to reach from there.
Yeah.
But of course, if you pick these options, you have to take a look at the control description in order to see that it's on the southeast. And if you're not doing that job, then you most likely end up taking A or B. So it's
well, I took B, and it was 2 very good controls initially, and then the third one was a bit tricky. So you can probably feel like you're getting ahead and then have to double back. These are lineups though for the semi-finals. It is just the top 2 who get through to make 6 runners in our finals. So 6 in each semi-final, whittled down to just 2, means it's going to be incredibly close and incredibly quick here. There's only a 1/3 chance of getting through, basically, and they're all pretty stacked, these semi-finals. Let's talk about the first one there. We've got Thomas Heikkilä from Finland. So these numbers correspond to how well they did in the qualifier, which was yesterday. So he was one of the top qualifiers. Cornelius Bjerk there as well. Of course, we've got to talk about Jonathan Gustafsson. He was 3rd in the World Championships in the knockout a couple of years ago in Denmark, 2nd in the European Champs knockout in Italy. And they are going to start doing their runner's choice here. So they've got just 20 seconds to make their decision. Look at how closely they are looking at these, and then they will pick up the map that they want.
And actually, when they later get the map, they choose A, B, and C. You see the 3 different options there. You take the map, and then you only have. It's like a normal course. You don't notice anything about the runner's choice anymore. You can see that. Heikkilä went for A. Maybe we're gonna see who picked which option here in this graphics. I'm not really sure. Yeah, but there we can see it. B for Cornelius. A for Lakaben. No one with C yet. All of them A or B. Yeah, maybe not that surprising. Lack of time. Maybe if you don't get through all of the options, you take the better one from A and B. As I said, and the course planners, they expected C to be the quickest, so no one took that one. Thomas Heikkilä, for me, one of the favorites for today, actually. He has developed very well second part of last season in sprint, and also yesterday he had a very good qualification. Seemed very strong in the last meters in the quarter-final as well. But all of them in this first heat, Lakaben, quite experienced in this knockout sprints, has good results from earlier. Maybe someone, I'm talking about the experience. Here we have a personalized experience, like very, very experienced Daniel Hupman, but maybe not that explosive anymore on the last meters. And we look at the course down from control 13 to the finish. It's so physical. Maybe. He surprised me in the quarterfinal. Maybe he does it again.
In his 40s now, Daniel Hubman, and we have just seconds to go then until we have a start on this first semi-final. Here they go, straight out there. You can see Jonathan Gustafsson hits the front. Pretty slow out of there, to be honest, as it's quite tight couple of corners before they get into the running. And this is where we will probably see different characteristics here, different people hitting the front. Every single group of athletes is different, and we're going to see them kind of pace it very differently as well. So it looks like we've got Cornelius Bjerk hitting the front, and they split up already to this first control.
I think it doesn't really matter if you go to the left or the right. You have a bit more of the turns to do if you go to the left, which you see Rankan and Cornelius Bjerk doing here. I guess it's a bit shorter though, so they will be together definitely. Maybe one of the groups will just get to the control a few meters ahead of the other one. It's a bit easier to execute if you go to the right, because then you can just continue in running direction when you punch the control.
Yeah, you don't have to have those couple of seconds where you turn back and then head your way to number 2. It's quite a good route. And then they split up again then out of this control.
A bit surprising for me that they're splitting out that much. You can see a small mistake here by a few of the runners.
And I think one of the athletes went to the right, so we've not got...
Koopman.
Yeah, that's right. We've not got Hoopman in here, so he went to the right.
I think to the right is quite okay.
Yeah, there he is. They catch back up together again. And then there's again a little choice here from the second to the third control as well.
And now here it's actually good for Hoopman because he got a better position in the group. He wasn't so much faster, but you can see he's now in second spot. And especially if we expect it to be very tight in this heat, then the positioning is so important. You see there are people in the city, you have many turns. It's very hard to pass runners, even though it's in the city and it's a sprint. So the positioning is very important. And if you're in second position, you still have the one in front of you, helping you, guiding you with route choices, decisions, everything. You can control it in
Jonathan Gustafsson's in first, Daniel Hubman in second, Lurt Kapburn in third, and we have Cornelius Björk, then Thomas Heikeler, then Ricardo Rankan, very characteristic with his backwards cap.
And now it's...
And they kind of change back up again. Look, you can see Cornelius Björk is really trying to kind of take the control here.
And I mean, they know that they now get closer to the runner's choice. I think it's very important for the runners to be in a good position there, because you don't know if you pick the fastest one, so you don't want to be 2 or 3 seconds behind just from the position. And it's definitely the place, if there is a chance to make a difference here on this course, it's in the runner's choice.
Yeah.
So this is control 4, and then there's the short one to control 5, and at control 5 the runner's choice starts. Different option. I think it's a good one from Hoopman.
Yeah, but there's more steps there, as you can see. So they're pretty much together here.
And now they start. They all have to leave at the same place. You see Jonathan Gustafsson lost a bit of time.
I think there was a bit of hesitation coming out of 4 to me.
He went down or up the wrong stairs just before control 5.
So now they split then, and they do this runner's choice. So remember, we had equal numbers on A and equal numbers on B, 3 on each.
And so now here you can see them splitting up. It's a bit quicker here in this part to have the B option, as we have Gustafsson, Björk and Rankan. But then they have to turn back again. You see the control there in the corner.
They can go back
Actually,
the other side of this
four
here.
going for this one.
Yes, I was going to say, it's very... So here you feel ahead, and then you can see the others are coming around the other side, the ones who've got A. But they have to still kind of go backwards as well.
But they should be a bit quicker. See them?
Are they ahead?
Yeah,
I think they are.
They're still all together.
They're basically back together. Ricardo Rankan in the lead, and they're coming through now for the arena passage.
Would have been interesting to see the C option as well. Maybe we get to see it in the second semi-final.
Lots of map reading here as they go up the hill towards the arena.
From a runner's perspective, you can now calm down a little bit again, because it was very nervous. It is very nervous just before the runner's choice, because you don't know what the others picked, of course. And now they know it's over. Now they know it's unforked to the finish. It's all about the positioning from now, so it doesn't matter if you're I mean, now you have to just be in the group. It doesn't matter how quick the group is going.
So we've got control 11. It's basically the other side of that building there. It's pretty equal to me which way you go on this one, as long as you get the right little entrance into the control, into this courtyard behind the buildings here.
I think it's better to go this way here. It was equal, very equal.
Very, very equal. And they got their elbows out there, but it is the Finn in the lead, Thomas Heikeler. still in the lead. Number 12 is fairly easy, and then we've got a route choice to 13. Oh, Capben just not quite on top of things here, and they all kind of split back up again.
Now you
go around their quarantine
if
building.
You went to the right, you get. I mean, I think the distance-wise it's very similar, but you have to turn back. You run in, and then you have to turn back out to control 13 again. Hoopman, Gustafsson, and Rankan, they don't have to do it. They can just continue in the same direction as they are running. You can see it here.
There you go.
And you saw it between Hoopman and Capben, basically the difference. It was just 1 or 2 meters.
So Hoopman and Capben go left, the other 4 go right. This is the big route choice. I think this, for me, looking at it, is the place where you can kind of take a risk if you're going to go a different way. But to be honest, all of these runners really look like they're doing their own thing anyway. Very little kind of following, as it were, going on in this semi-final.
Definitely. They should get together again. You can see the other runners in the background for just a second.
For me, I think this is good route choice.
I think it doesn't really matter. I think they will.
You have a barrier on the left there, which you could have seen.
But I think they turned in again, so they are basically on the same route. Or maybe they're to see it, but it's here they come from the left, so maybe a few seconds slower.
Yeah, I think a few seconds slower.
And Hoopman.
Hoopman off the back. Heikeler there is in towards the lead. This is the 13th control.
I mean, we were just talking about it's just a few seconds, but you can see it's only 2 runners going to the final, and a few meters can make a big difference here.
And for me, from now, it's fairly simple. It's a lot of running. It's very easy from here, and from the second to last control, it's pretty much just straight running. So we've got Heikeler and Gustafsson in the lead, and those 2 are in a good position to go through, but being chased by Rankan.
And now it's very important for Rankan to get closer again, just eat meter by meter, because they're just a few meters from the last control to the finish, and very soon they're going to get to this last control.
Yeah, they're here in the arena now, and Heikeler and Gustafsson are clear. It looks like it's pretty easy for these 2 to make this qualification. So Heikeler and Gustafsson through. No photo finish needed here, and those 2 are the ones who are going to make it through to the final. Very short time. They will have a quick turnaround, but for me, they kind of put themselves in a good position. I think kind of in the midpoint of the race, and they were really at the front and being active in the orienteering.
I mean, basically, I expected the runner's choice to be the decisive point here. Now, if you have A or B, it doesn't really matter, obviously. Very decisive here in this heat, both the route choice from 12 to 13, but then kind of the positioning and, of course, the speed you have left, the power you have left from 13 to 14 and 15 and the finish.
But for me, I mean, Hoopman was already behind when you came to that route choice, just slightly, maybe dropped a little bit more. And look, Capben not quite in control. He was making a few kind of small mistakes, having to go back on the acceleration.
See, if you look at it from Hoopman's perspective, I guess that he knows that it will be very tough for him to fight against the others from 14, 15 to the finish. So I'm not surprised that he takes a different route choice than the first runners when he gets a control 12. I'm a bit more surprised that Capben is going differently, and yeah, 12-13, the one we have to look out for the next semi-final as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've made it through, and they actually did pick their heats after the qualification yesterday, and you do have a big, oh, hang on, we have a missed punch. Oh, Jonathan Gustafsson missed punches. So
then we have
that changes everything. That's why you keep going in a knockout sprint, even if you're in third place.
Because we were talking about it at the runner's choice, that we thought it was 3 runners having this one. So let's see here.
Yeah.
There could be.
Yeah. See, I thought Jonathan Gustafsson was given A, and he definitely ran B. Yeah, because we saw him choose it, didn't we? No, hang on.
No, we saw
Heikeler
choosing, and he had A. Well, maybe we'll get to see it later on, or maybe we get the information here. But yeah, I was surprised when you said that because I was quite sure we had 3 A's and 3 B's, and
but
we
then
saw
they did change them a few times on the graphic as well. So anyway. Looks like we've got a mispunch then for Jonathan Gustafsson, the current bronze medalist in the World Championships in that knockout sprint. So that's quite a big upset for me not to see him in here. So we start our lineup then for the second semi-final, and really they're all incredibly stacked. There's no easy job here, but here's some of the big names as well in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to sort out just before the semi-finals which heat is the easiest
like
one
to run in,
we would choose, and we came to the conclusion that none of them is easy. But here I think we have, Joey Hadon very strong physically, and if we know the finish here, the final part of the course, this will definitely suit him if he's in the group from 12-13 to the finish. I think he has good chances to get through to the final. But if you look at it, Martin Drek, one very strong runner as well. Mattia Barrovalle was very quick in the last meters in the quarterfinals as well. Ralph Street, we know about his strength in especially knockout sprint, and he won the sprint last year in Czech Republic. But he had struggles with injuries during the winter, so maybe not this final bit of the course he would hope for today. Let's see here now.
So poor Joe Hadon had to do that runner choice with a camera in his face as well.
He chose C, so that's the first one.
So they had 20 seconds to make that choice. You can see the bit of paper being removed. They've got all those 3 options. Elias Jonsson also has
3 times C.
Tobias Alstad has C. Ralph Street has B. Barrovalle has A. We're just waiting for Martin Regborn.
Has also C. It's so interesting that we see like this different. We have no C in the A in the first semi-final. Now we have 4 C in the second one.
So another 6 athletes line up, and I'll introduce then to the crowd. Martin Regborn, very strong all-rounder, maybe slightly better in the forest.
And actually I got the information that there wasn't any mispunch in the men's heat one.
Okay, so he's back in. So Thomas Hageler and Jonathan Gustafsson. Ralph Street just edged out Emil Svensk in the photo finish in his semi-final number 3. And I was really impressed with this Frenchman here. Mattia Barrovalle was very, very quick at closing down on the runners in just from the last controls to the finish. So he has got a sprint finish on him as well. But he's a young and inexperienced athlete. But this is often where we see some kind of outsiders do well. He wasn't quite prepared for that
starting his watch as well.
That seems to come up nowhere, and there's quite a narrow passage out there.
Expected that they would do that like 20 seconds before the start.
Well, I normally do that 20 seconds before. Anyway, we have the Norwegian hitting the front. It looks like Elias Jonsson hitting the front here.
You can already see now it's different dynamic in the second semi-final. Before we had many of the runners splitting up to the first control. Here you can see that most of them decide to follow the first runner to this first control. You get a bit more time to get used to the map. I would do like that as well.
Yeah.
Because you have the runner's choice, you know where the forking is coming, you know that you can follow the others, and then you have a chance to get comfortable with the map and to get into the competition in a good way. Now we can see Ralph Street going the Hoopman direction.
Yeah, all of the others going the same way. So you can see, you started to get a chance of seeing who is being the most active in the map reading as well.
Actually, the control we just saw in the picture is control 12 then from the second loop. They don't have that on the map, they have a map flip.
So yeah, Ralph Street passes and he's gone into the lead, I think, from that choice.
I mean, we have seen this in the first semi-final when we had Hoopman getting into second position here already, so a good option to go to the right.
But the amount of energy to a route choice, that's got to give you actually quite a lot of confidence as well. And now Ralph Street is in the lead, and then the dynamics of the pack changes once again.
And of course, also it shows to us that he is very active in map reading. He's not just following, he knows what to do. He has the courage to go differently. Even if 5 other runners in front of you go to the left, he has the confidence to go to the right, and shows
actually,
you how good
I think
of a sprinter
this
he
is
is.
further around for that one, but everyone's followed him because you kind of get a sense of that different route as well. So there's potential for splitting up here again into control number 4, but they're all pretty close together. So we've got Ralph Street, we've got Elias Jonsson, we've got the Swede Martin Regborn up there as well. Further back in the pack, Mattia Baravaye. We've got Joey Hadorn off the back of the pack as well. And they know this runner's choice then is approaching. You can see just how much Joey Hadorn is kind of looking down, looking at his map, trying to get a good picture in his head to get good flow on this tricky bit here.
And actually the entrance to this area here, you can see it from this. It's a bit unexpected because it feels as if you enter some private kind of backyard, and it's very strange because usually as an orienteer, as a sprint orienteer,
people messing up, not having a picture of where those steps are. It's
we have seen that in the first heat with Heikkinen, I think.
Gustafsson it was.
Or Gustafsson.
But more people making mistakes there.
Yeah. And now we have the C option for the first time. Ralph Street going on B, I guess.
Yeah, he has B, but he's the only one. So we have 4 going on C, Ralph Street goes on B, and Mattia Baravaye goes on A. And do you want to be with lots of people or not here?
I don't think it matters that much. You definitely want to be in front when you get out of the runner's choice again.
You absolutely do. So Ralph Street actually takes a different set of steps up, and then you have to go back, round and down for this last control, the 8th control on the B option. I mean, this GPS basically means very little now, but you can see the Frenchman going to the different route here, the different number 7, then back up the stairs though, and back to a different control. So this is the group who all had the C option, which is what the course setters did think was the best.
So
and yeah, look, they're completely changing order now, and those who had C really managed to get ahead here.
And now you can see that there is actually a gap from 4 to 5.
Oh,
that's why you always
control.
Listen to your sport event.
Or he just didn't think about punching the control, just thinking about going through that loop there. So,
but you can see the gap there from position 4 to Ralph Street, and it's going to be very tough for him to close this. I mean, there's definitely a chance to do so, but you will need a lot of energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And now the race really is on after this arena passage. Only a few more controls to go. They go a similar route then to this 11th control. And you can see, just the energy it's going to cause to catch up, but he is doing so.
I mean, it's one thing here between Ralph Street and I think it is Elias Jonsson. But then you have to see there's another gap from, it's not Jonsson, it's Tobias Alstad. And then up again to Joey Hadorn, and I mean it's quite a lot to close again. It's about 4 or 5 seconds.
It really is. Oh, and I really wish we'd stayed with the runners there, because I wanted to see which way out of that passage they went, because it gives us an indication of the route choice they're taking to control 12.
Actually, the GPS about 30 seconds behind, so we need a few. Probably we're going to see them at control 13 before we get to the conclusion where they go.
Quite possibly. But there is, of course, route choice then from control 12 to 13.
So here, let's see. You can see that Hadorn there in front. There is a gap between Hadorn and Ralph Street.
Yeah, and then we have Baravaye there.
I think
they're going different ways.
I think they're going to the left. Yeah. So they went to the left, Street and Baravaye. Don't have Hadorn, but Hadorn was on the left one as well, right? Together with Street and...
Well, we've got camera at control 13, we just have to wait and see.
But interesting thing then, definitely at control 13. Didn't see the others punching yet there.
So Hadon, then Regborn, then Jonsson, then Street, then Baravaye, then Alstad off the back. Only 2 to go through.
But you can see that the gaps between the runners actually surprisingly big. It's one big train here coming, and it's going to be so hard for the one in third, for Elias Jonsson, to pass Martin Rekborn. So I think that Joey Hadon and Rekborn have a very good chance here to make it to the finals.
Yeah, I think so too. There's a bit of a gap between 1 and 2 and the rest, and Joey Hadon fighting really hard. They're all trying to close on the leading 2, but look at that, the leading 2 do have a gap. I think it's going to be enough for Joey Hadon and for Martin Rekborn to qualify. Yet they've managed to get enough of a gap, and Joey Hadon can enjoy these last few meters of his semi-final. Hadon and Regborn through with the next 3 pretty much blanket finish then. So just a couple of seconds in it, but Hadon and Regborn will make it through to the final.
And you could see it in this heat. Actually, it was so decisive. Just this physical ability in the very end. You could feel it that probably the 2 runners that are in best shape, best physical ability right now made it to the final. It was very. I mean, the 1:12:13 was decisive again because I think it was a little bit faster for them to go to the left. And then once they had those small gaps when they arrived at control 13, it was very tough to go and pass. Just, Joey Hadon and Martin Rekborn.
But I'm surprised how much the runner's choice actually completely changed the order, and then that set everything up for the rest of the race.
But I think there is really, I mean, there might not be a big difference between A and B, but I think there is quite a difference between C and A and B. So I think that if it's just about 4 seconds, that makes a difference. Because if you're in the lead at the control before and you get this 4 seconds added to it, then you have this gap. And I mean, how to close a 4 second gap here? It's such high speed orienteering.
And you even just see they're running into and out of the control, like how quick you have to be in the punching and how smooth you have to be to decelerate and accelerate again. It's incredible. You lose half a meter and then it just grows.
And it's also very obvious that we are in a championship season where we have a sprint world championships coming. You can see many of them have been training a lot of sprint. The decisions are taken quickly. All this in and out is going very smoothly for the runners. So it is high-class orienteering today.
Yeah, it really is. It's those world championships in Edinburgh in July, and we already move on to the 3rd semi-final. This is what they're presented with. They've got to try and make those comparisons between the 3 different routes. Of course, they'll all have practice slots now, with the knockout sprint being much more kind of established on the season. But they don't always have a runner's choice, though. And we have seen quite a few runner's choices.
I think it's very hard to say which one's the quickest if you look at it. I think it's you choose the one you feel most confident with, being able to execute in this smooth way you want to orienteer, and maybe avoid this back and forth, like going in and out, back out from the control again. That's what I would do, at least, because usually it's breaking your rhythm a bit, and it's the thing that really needs strength and energy if you have to slow down and accelerate again.
So I'm making a note. Only one person's picked C so far. That is Timo Suter, Swiss runner, running, of course, home soil. Also Timo Oksanen as well, the Finn. And we can talk through the lineup. Timo Suter had a great qualification, coming into 2nd place. He's got a top 10 at World Cup sprint level.
He was very good at national competitions this spring as well in Switzerland, so had a very good start of the season. This is August Mullén, medalist from the World Championships 2 years ago. In the fight there, together with Jonathan Gustafsson, losing it to Matthias Kiburtz, one of the runners we are not seeing today at the start line.
Yep, we saw Timo Oksanen there, gearing away into this semi-final.
Another French guy that was very good on the last meters in the quarterfinals.
He's a first-year senior as well, so a new name on the starting grid, as it were. We just saw Fabien Abersold there as well. He's had a good domestic season as well. And they're off straight away then. out into the terrain, and you can see August Moulin has taken the lead at the moment. So there was a lot more kind of following, grouping up in the second semi-final compared to the first one. I wonder what will happen here. But we see Timo Suter and Timo Oksanen head to the lead.
All the 6 of them on the right route choice, exactly what we've seen in the second semi-final as well. Going to be interesting to see if there's anyone going to the Hoopman Street option to the second control. We know it's just slightly faster to go to the right. So now very soon they approach the first control just behind this black car.
You have all this noise at the arena, and then suddenly you dip into one of these courtyards, and it's just the noise. It's just the sound of people stepping. They all go the same way.
All of them go to the right. We know it's slightly quicker. It's a good option. Good decisions by all of them.
You just hear footsteps and breathing when you're outside this arena, and maybe some whistles from the officials as well.
So very soon they turn left into it. And actually that's very hard to see in this Central European cities, those entrances. Now here it's not too difficult, but usually when you are in the real center, this passage is very hard to see, something you really want to prepare for, and that you can do quite good with Google Street View, because it's so hard to see the difference between entrances to like buildings and shops and these passages.
So again, they all go the same way. Knockout sprint showing it's a bit of a contact sport at some points as they came into and out of that control. So Timo Oksanen and August Moulin at the front here, with the Frenchman Guillaume Verove off the back here. Maybe some small hesitations, just deciding which way to go. There was options to go different ways, and then they all kind of decide, oh no, we are actually going to go the same way. Try and avoid this bicycle. Cutting through versus going round, and now we approach the runner's choice again. 2 of them have C, Timo Suter and Timo Oksanen.
And we have Fabian Abersold here. We were talking a lot about physical abilities. He was running a street, like a running competition last weekend here in Switzerland, quite a big one, 4.7 kilometers, and won it. So he seems to be in a great shape. It's the same competition. There was also a 10 miles run at it. Kibbutz was competing against the marathon world champion and beat him. So that was very impressive, just to give you a bit of insights here into the Swiss team and their running capacities. Back to the runner's choice.
Yeah, and you can see all the different route choices they're all going here, and it just gets all very strange when suddenly you turn from everybody doing the same thing to everybody doing different things, and then another collision. That's there.
What do you call the contact sport here?
Exactly. It's always Oksanen who's crashing into everybody else here. It's it's not easy. And
as we saw from the second semi-final, should be a bit quicker for Timo Suter and Timo Oksanen.
Yeah, that's these 2 who've taken C. They've got to be sure of which side of the building this control is, and they've got it okay. And sometimes there's maybe tactical exits and entrance.
The difference is actually really big. You can see it. There is just Backlid in contact with the leading 2 guys.
So here B was much further back, in fact. So Backlid was on A, and the 3 who were on B have dropped back significantly then here. So those who chose C are going through this arena passage in the lead, and in fact they just both of them have a little look behind Suter and Backlid, and they're in a good position here. But it is fantastic.
And you can see really how hard August Moulin is pushing now, together with Fabian Abersold, just in order to get in contact. They really have to give it everything they have now. They have to throw in their energy and they have to boost it really much. I think they would like to spare that one for the last controls, but now they have to go all in.
Exactly, they have to go all, and catching up a few meters as well, but then they're not going to have that energy for that sprint finish. And it's quite a long well, long for a knockout
But
sprint.
it's very much depending now on what route choice they take to the 13th control. If they pick the same one, every one of them, there will be a big advantage for Timo Suter and Backlid and Oksanen.
So this one to control 12 is fairly simple, and then we've got the more tricky route choice to control 13. You can see the amount of energy there. Fabian Absold in 5th place currently, trying to put into catching up to that group.
And again, it would have been so interesting to stay together with the runners just in order to see if they go to the left or right. Maybe get to see it here.
I mean, one of the purposes of this runner's choice is just to force them to do the orienteering and split up, but it's so decisive here.
We have 5 runners here, right?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're missing Backlid, maybe. Don't see Backlid on this one.
I don't see him at all. No, no
so
Norwegian
all
kit.
of them went to the right. Probably Backlid going to the left. I think it was quite good in the second semi-final. It's going to be very interesting to see when they approach control 13.
You can see Abasol just trying to again get past the French athletes.
And now maybe.
But I think they're too far back though here, these two.
Yeah, it's going to be
Let's
tough for
have
them.
a look.
Interesting to see if Backlid is getting ahead of
Suter
that.
and Moulin. And where's Jürgen Backlid?
Here he is.
Oh no,
it's
Oksanen, sorry. Whoa, close, close, close here
Here's
then between the two. Backlid also went that other way. So there's 2 groups of 3 then here. So we have Suter, Oksanen and Moulin all fighting it out for 2 places.
I think you can forget about the second group. They're not going to make it to the final, but it will be all between those 3 guys. Timo Suter, Timo Oksanen and August Moulin.
Remember August Moulin?
No, I don't think that was a good option.
That's not going to be a good idea, in my opinion at all. He's going to come out from the left, I think, but he'll be behind.
Most probably be behind. There he is. Yeah, far behind. So now took himself out of the competition.
See, I'm surprised. I thought he would have backed himself for a sprint finish. He's such a fast athlete, but that was not the good decision here. And Timo Suter punches the air. He's gone through alongside the Finn, Timo Oksanen, and clear 1 and 2 there for these 2. Fantastic work. And now we have our final lineup.
I'm very, very surprised that Moulin did that. I would have seen him as one of the stronger guys on the last meters, and
he was only half a
he
meter behind.
Was
I
just
think
there.
he could have. I would have expected him to be able to match them.
And I mean, distance-wise, it might not have been such a big difference if it would have been an individual sprint. He would have lost, a few seconds. But now here you lose all the speed you have. You have to stop all the way, and then you have to back out again.
And there's
and
2
it's
more
just
corners
a bit,
as well.
Yeah, it's just a bit further to go as well. And I don't understand this decision. But of course, I mean, it's very tough.
That's not the control you want to take a risk on.
No, but he must have felt that he is not able to beat the other ones in a sprint finish.
Exactly as we spoke about earlier, he had to put in so much energy that the other 2 didn't to catch that gap up after the runner's choice.
Yeah, of course. We said it before. If they get together to the last controls, then there is an advantage for Oksanen and Suter. It's exactly that way. And as you said, now we have the final lineup here.
Yeah, we do. So it will be Thomas Hakeler, Jonathan Gustafsson, Joey Haddon, Martin Regborn, Timo Suter and Timo Oksanen making that lineup very shortly. I mean, it's quite tricky to see what actually is happening with the GPS here. But we can do
it was a bit unsynced there. I think Timo Suter wasn't that far behind. GPS too far for the picture to follow. Too fast.
So who impressed you there? Who are we looking out for then in the semi-final? Are there any really big misses out here?
I mean, as we said before, all three of the semi-finals were very strong. One thing I said, I mean, for me, Thomas Heikkilä, he looked very strong, both in last sprints of last season, also in the qualification, and he was running in the first semi-final today. I mean, Timo Suter looked very good, Tim Oakson looked very good, but they have not as much time to recover as the others have.
No.
And that's going to be an advantage for the ones in the first semi-final.
Yeah, we don't have any Matthias Kuberts, as we said. The winner of the World Champs and the European Champs in the knockout. He's focusing on marathon running in those Paris Olympics. No, Gustav Bergman as well, because he was just had another baby. Just welcome the arrival of the baby.
That one.
Exactly. And in the women's final, in the women's lineup, we had no Sara Hagström on the starting line this weekend through to injury. She had back surgery. Megan Carter-Davis also, she's unwell today. She might be back tomorrow. But obviously, let's talk about this first semi-final then. And they do their runner's choice here. Here is, of course, the favourite, Tove Alexandersson, who was, I think, talking on social media a few weeks ago about she much prefers the forest races, and she was quite annoyed with how many sprint races and compared to forest races there were.
It seems as she hadn't figured out the season planning yet. It's always sprints towards it's always the discipline that we have at the World Championships in the whole during the whole spring. So it's no surprise.
Well, maybe she'd prefer to mix them in together, but from the way that these athletes are looking
mixing the sports more than Tove Alexandersson?
No, absolutely not. She does skiing, skimo, all sorts of things.
But as we said before, it's exactly the same course here for the semi-finals in the women's class as well. So we're going to see what they picked here.
Well, good news for Tove Alexandersson fans. She's picked C. So has Marion Abbey, the Swiss runner. Alva Sonnesson goes with A. That seems to be the second best option. Inka Nurminen also has C. Hannah Lundberg, she's got B. That was the least good option, we think. And just waiting for the Norwegian for Andrina Benjaminsen.
We're mostly waiting for the graphics of Andrina Benjaminsen because he's
true.
Already waiting there.
Exactly.
So this is going to be very tough here for Hanna Lundberg. If it's the same outcome as we had it in the men's semi-final, it's 4 times C and 1 B by Hanna Lundberg, which was quite much slower. And then we had Alva Sonnesson somewhere in between B and C.
Well, the Tove Alexandersson is the reigning world and European championship at this one, and she was miles ahead of the other runners in the quarterfinal as well. And she really likes to hit the front quite early. So, but she's got some competition there from Hannah Lundberg. I think if it all kind of lines up with her runner's choice there. Alva Sonnesson to complete the lineup, and only a few seconds to go before the start of this first semi-final for the women. A reminder, only 2 to go through to the final. There they go. They can't see much from their starting line, and they'll go around this corner here. You can see the 3 Swedish kits there. 2, 1 Swiss, 1 Norwegian, 1 Finn. And in mind, it's exactly the same course for the women as for the men. And it actually looks like Finland's Inka Nurminen has tried to push the pace on early doors.
She's pushing really hard here.
Yeah. Not leaving it down to kind of any sort of like tactical race. You know, often these races can be kind of run a bit like more like races on the track. You know, you can really hold back the pace and then try and make a quick finish at the end, or you can try and go quite hard, quite fast out from the start of the control. And Inka Nurminen is leaving nothing to chance though, but she's got to go around some cars.
Yeah.
And it looks like Hannah Lundberg out the front there. She just navigated that in and out very quickly, and now she's at the front.
She's going to need that small gap later on. You can see that all of the runners decide to go to the right. It was the fastest option towards control 2. In the men's semi-finals. So
now Inka Nurminen at the back of that pack. We've also got Marion Abbey there towards the pack in 4th, 5th place.
And I mean, this is quite an inconvenient heat to be in if you're not one of the favorites, because you definitely know that Tove Alexandersson and Hannah Lundberg, they don't have any interest at all in a slow race, because the only way basically they can lose this semi-final is by being overtaken on the last meters. They're so strong individual sprinters, so I think everyone else would decide to go for a slower heat, try to save some energy, but of course they will be up there setting the pace here.
And yeah, they absolutely are. It's those two in the lead, then Andrina Benjaminsen. I was about to say she's more of a forest runner, but really she's an all-rounder. She's world class in all the disciplines, and it is Hanna Lundberg out to the front, which is, again, as we said, maybe a good thing, but look at how much Tove Alexandersson reading her map, looking for the next bit coming up.
And Hanna Lundberg was actually very strong in some Swedish trainings and test competitions, especially in the knockout sprint.
And you just got to deal with this, you know, this different side of orienteering, having these runners by your side. You can see Hanna Lundberg kind of look over at Tove Alexandersson, and you know, now we've had more and more knockout sprints on the circuit, people getting more used to what it is like to be sprinting at such high speed alongside your competitors. It's such a different kind of way of orienteering.
And you can see it here as well. As soon as you get these passages, these legs where you have a lot of distance to run without any decisions or turns to take, you have the three.
Ooh, Maren Avey just absolutely stopped there, deciding where she's going to go.
Yeah, the most three experienced runners making just, and maybe the physical strongest runners making a difference here. But now we start the runner's choice. And you see that she lost confidence, she lost control here, Marion Abbey. Not a good way to do so, or not a good point.
No, you can see just completely stops there, just didn't really have a good picture of which way around this building you needed to go, where you could get down the steps. They're so small and so narrow, you can see from the map.
And it was so typical, because you could see it from control 3 to 4, how the other runners were pushing on speed, were pushing very, very hard, and she had a bit of problems to follow.
Okay, so now they do the different route choices, and we can remember that Tove Alexandersson and Andrina Benjaminsen, both of them have picked C. Hanna Lundberg's picked B, so she's got the different control there, and it might change everything up again, as kind of Hanna Lundberg has to go back on herself, as you can see here, and then fight up this hill. Oh, but the other two have made a mistake because they're about to go around the other way. So this is going to change everything here, because Hanna Lundberg has executed B perfectly. The other two have made a mistake on C. If they'd done that perfectly, they would have come out in the lead, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, and now it's actually lucky for them that they had the shortest option, because otherwise they would have lost another few seconds here. But now it looks very good, of course, for Hanna Lundberg. It also looks still quite good for Tove Alexandersson and Andrine Benjaminsen in the fight there as well. But it seems as if the gap up to Hanna Lundberg might be a bit too big for Andrine Benjaminsen. So if she gets a chance, I think it's going to be Tove Alexandersson.
And it's really hard on the map to see which side of the wall that last control was on that C option, which is why we saw the two hesitating, just having to check the control descriptions. They evidently weren't prepared for that control, and that is that's what's lost them the time. But you can see now Tove Alexandersson already kind of catching back up to the back of Hanna Lundberg here.
But it's still a gap back to Benjaminsen, and it's not that much, but you have to close it first.
Yeah, and to be honest, these three look pretty well clear of 4th, 5th and 6th. So it's only Benjaminsen here racing for this second spot. You can just see how Hanna Lundberg's there changing over the map. Maybe Tove Alexandersson's done it a bit more in advance, actually, of her. Already looking at the other side of the map for these last few controls. So 12 is fairly straightforward. And then there's that route choice again to 13, but 2 groups of 3 out here. This is the lead. So Tove Alexandersson just overtaken Hanna Lundberg there. Then we have 3rd place and a gap. Then we can't see any of the others following. And for me, the gap is growing, I think, back to the Norwegian.
And now actually in Andrine Benjaminsen's position, she would need to go differently, but she doesn't. I mean, it would be very, very hard for her to close that gap. I think it would have been smart for her to go to the left. I don't really see how she could pass the others here, but maybe I'm wrong. don't really understand that decision, actually. I mean, how would she be able to close that gap again and still have enough energy to then pass the others on the last meters?
Well, maybe she's trying to... have the two Swedes split up?
Yeah. No. Yeah, they have now.
Yeah.
So now she gets a chance, but I think the gap was too big. But it's definitely her.
So Hannah Lundberg will come from the other direction. Here's Tove Alexandersen. Let's see who makes it to this 13th control first. It is Hannah Lundberg, but she's lost a little bit of time
and
here
take it back
on the
again.
Norwegian.
What I said.
So now we have a fight on for this second spot. So Alexandersen is in the lead, but these two are going to fight it out for that second qualifying mark, Hannah Lundberg and Andrina Benjaminsen.
And now actually Benjaminsen looked stronger than Hannah Lundberg here. Let's see who's coming first. This is Tove, of course, but behind it's going to be interesting.
Here.
It is Benjaminsen.
Benjaminsen has overtaken the Swede here. Yeah, you called it right. Hannah Lundberg is looking like she's struggling here. And there's only one more control to go. This last control in this arena, and Hannah Lundberg, I'm sure, will fight hard for it. But a good route choice there at the end for Andrina Benjaminsen means she is going to qualify ahead of Hannah Lundberg. Or rather, a bad route choice for Hannah Lundberg, I think.
Because, I mean, if Hannah Lundberg would have stayed with Tove Alexandersen, it would have been through. So,
That's true. So, not the right route choice there for Hannah Lundberg. And it means Tove Alexandersen, the favourite, the defending world and European champion, is through, followed by Norwegian Andrina Benjaminsen. Hannah Lundberg making that wrong route choice to 13. Super decisive. No, she is straight off there.
But as I said, I mean, they had such a big gap, Alexandersen and Lundberg. Now I'm not 100% sure who was in the lead when they decided the route choice at 12 or out from 12. But if Lundberg was second there, then I think it's... Yeah, she should just stay together with Tove, because then they're two, they were going to get through to the final anyway. But now, I kind of called for the commentator's curse here when I said that Benjaminsen didn't do it very smart. I still would say she didn't, but she was a bit lucky that there was a bad choice by Hannah Lundberg.
But then, she was behind still at this point. Andrina Benjaminsen was behind, and she had that speed to be able to...
But you can see it now. I hope that we stay a bit longer. She seemed just a bit stronger out from the control. It seemed that she was... she had more energy left. She could kick in the booster there.
Yeah, and she really, really could. She paced that incredibly well. Fantastic stuff then to put Tove Alexandersen and Andrina Benjaminsen first two to make it into this semi-final. Two more semi-finals to come.
Not really what do we see here? Why aren't there synced?
I think it's just not very well synced, these GPS routes, to be honest.
Dann muss dann einfach bei den besten drei sein, im Viertelfinale, bei den besten zwei im Halbfinale, dann mit der bestmöglichen Erholungszeit.
So this is the place where we had Abby hesitating a lot. The different options in the runner's choice, and the mistake, we can't really see, they corrected the GPS in a way that we couldn't see it, because this one definitely is a corrected GPS. So what they do is they manually put the tracks between the streets and like the passages, and they didn't really see the mistake, so they just corrected it out and thought it was a GPS mistake. But there was a mistake.
Well, it was more like they kind of stopped or they hesitated, rather than the actual amount of distance that they won't have been much added on at all. It probably won't have even been picked up by the GPS, I imagine, at all. So we have then the confirmation of Tove Alexandersen and Andrina Benjaminsen through to our final, and we can look forward to the second semi-final. This one may be a little bit more open, as you can see the runners here lining up, having chosen their maps already. We've got lots of different nations lining up, and a few kind of younger names. If you look like the likes of Pia Youngvik from Norway, it's her first-year senior. Oh, and we're going to see if anyone's chosen B, because a load of them have chosen their all B, apart from Josephine Schernland. And was that Cecilia Calandri as well? Anyway, Pia Youngvik from Norway here. She was second at the J-Walk Sprint last year, so first-year senior. Natalia Gempele, a much more experienced runner, third place at the European Champs Knockouts in Italy last year. We have got Ida Egervig Christiansen, Josephine Cherland from Sweden there. Cécile Colandry, also a very experienced runner from France. And Evely Karsaku here, silver medalist from the middle distance in the European Champs on home soil a couple of years ago. And they are about to start. We'll see, I'm sure, a very, very different race here.
I think this one is much, I mean, the runners, they're very much closer when it comes to the physical ability here. It's going to be a tight one, I guess. It's going to be a very interesting one. Colandry was very strong in the semi-final. Cherland was strong there as well.
I wonder whether we'll see a little bit more people taking different routes earlier on, like we had in our first men's semi-final. You never know. This one quite even. I think it's going to be really, really hard to call. Let's see who's gone out quickly, though, first. So we've got Natalia Gempele barely looking at her map here on this first stage. Cécile Colandry taking a lot more looks. Pia Youngvik into third place, and the Dane Egervig Christiansen in fourth place. Currently, it looks like the back of the pack, Josephine Cherland. And all going the same way here. Nobody really trying to, I guess, push the pace off the front, but Natalia Gempele leading the way here. Former Russian, now Swiss athlete.
So the first route choice, basically, to control 2. Now we had many of the heats following to the right.
And I really like Cécile Colandry has just put herself on the shoulder of Gempele. She's really kind of working hard to make sure that the Swiss doesn't get any sort of gap, actually, just the way she was able to accelerate out of that control. Again, it's a lot about kind of positioning in this group. Do you want to take the initiative and take the lead like Gempele's done? Do you want to be kind of second, third? Do you want to be maybe fourth? Watch for others to maybe make some hesitations into the controls and then just watch them. Maybe the second half you want to try and move up.
I mean, compared to the first semi-final, this one is a very different one when it comes to tactics and the grouping, because you had so clear favorites in the first one with Benjaminsen, with Alexandersson and Hanna Lundberg, and they were really setting the pace. Here I think it's a bit more tactical, a bit more relaxed, because everyone knows that I think that everyone thinks here that they could beat the others on the last loop. Possibly there's not that, the favorites are not that clear, so it's
but then
a
again,
thing.
they really are actually spreading out quite a lot.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising, but you can see that Gempele is really setting the pace. Colandry strong, following, as you mentioned before. Egervig Christiansen just behind, and then there is actually a gap to the next runner.
Gap, I think. Yeah, there we go. There's Evely Karsaku. But yeah, I think Cécile Colandry's got very established tactics here of going, right, I'm just going to sit on the shoulder and work hard here. They've got a different route,
to this fourth control and then to the fifth, and at the fifth control. So you can see that they enter this place at a different entrance. That's where they exited this small area.
So they've already had a chance to kind of look and see what that's like, and they go the other way round. There's steps to go either way, basically, but now they all go pretty much the same way. So now Pia Youngvik off the back here.
And of course,
this is a mistake then, slightly from Gempele.
And of course, I mean, if you go in this direction, you can already get a glimpse of the next control. Then you don't take the other steps. Then you want to take this one. You know already it's safe. You feel comfortable with that one. And you can see that now that everyone is together again, more or less.
There's so much on the map here. And Gempele making that mistake, you can really see how detailed it is. It's so easy to make those mistakes. And just the amount of detail and that these athletes are able to read so quickly, it's absolutely incredible. Any regular orienteer will really appreciate just how much detail they're able to pick up in a fraction of a second.
Now it's going to be very interesting when we see them approaching control 9 again. Is it?
I don't think anybody took the C option here, though.
We have many A and Bs.
So Colandry here behind her, going up the steps.
So she has to turn back a little bit to the left in order to punch the control.
Yep, that's her control.
Yeah, you can see that there's Gempele, Agervik Christiansson, Kasiku in the background.
So pretty similar order then, I think, for when they came into the control. That's not really done anything to the
standings. But there are
standings.
small gaps between Gempele and Kalondri. There is a gap between Agervik Christiansson and is it Kasiku?
It is Kasiku, yeah, exactly. So a gap in the lead, then two, then a group of three as they come through this arena passage. They turn the map over and they've really got to maybe see where there's an opportunity to take a risk, which the easy controls, which the tricky controls, all while maintaining an incredibly high speed here. Remember, just two to go through into the final. It's looking very good for Gempele at the moment, but close between the second two athletes. You can see them already having changed over the map. That's what Agervik Christiansson is doing there. Just having a chance to read that. Here is back with the lead. And the Dane, if we had a splitting up then going into here, if we've lost the French athletes, Kalondri. Yeah, she's gone a different way. And she's lost time there, I think.
No, there's quite a gap between Agervik Christiansson and Cécile Kalondri. Kasiku, I thought about that when she was running through the arena. She didn't look as if she would have the power to get back into this.
Yeah, she looks like she's used a lot of energy in that first part, I think. Only a few more minutes of running to go, but yeah, you can see she's just dropped off the back of the group there. Such is the high speed then for all of these athletes, and they go into this 12th control now. Then we have the route choice, and they split up then here.
To the right, we had Gempele. To the left, Agervik Christiansson. The other ones going to the right. And now Kasiku going to the left as well. Is she? No.
I think she's really trying to look ahead and see where the others went. So they completely split up then.
I think it's quite good to go to the left.
Yeah. So behind Kasiku, who looks like she's not going to be able to qualify here. You can see all the crowd and the marshals stopping the traffic as well.
You can see that there is an artificial fence there in between. If we go to the left, but you can enter the backyard through the passage, then take the steps down to the right and get to control 13. It was quite good in the men's semi-final to do so. So interesting to see now.
So who comes here first? Here's Gempele. This is control 13. She is in the lead. A good choice then for her. Who is next?
Who is next from this
Christiansson. And then Shanlund. Then Kalondri. So it's looking really good for the Dane here. This is a decent gap then back, and she looked very, very strong in the first part as well.
And Kalondri lost quite a lot here. We know that she had a bit of different entrance to control 12. And now losing contact with the top two.
So it looks very good for the defending bronze medalist, the European champs in this discipline, Natalia Gempele, to make it through, and clear two for the Danish athletes. Ida Agervik Christiansson. And they've only got a few more meters to go here as they make their way into the arena. Natalia Gempele looks behind her, but it is clear here she's not going to be pressed for a photo finish at this very final stages. In fact, she's got a decent gap over the rest of the field. She just looks like she's jogging in there, and maybe a small sprint here to make sure the Danish athlete gets through, but looks like she's not going to be challenged by the Swede. So we have Natalia Gempele and Ida Agervik Christiansson through into the final. Shannon just out of it, and we thought Kalondri might have been in the mix. Well, she was in the mix early on, but mistakes, I think, small mistakes in that second half. Just losing a bit of momentum there too. And it means Gempele and Agervik Christiansson into the final. Strong running for them, and Gempele as well. I mean, she just hit the front. She, no nonsense, just wanted to keep it honest race, and was pressing on all the way through for me.
Very impressive. It was a good race by Gempele. As you said, she could kind of decide what to do on the whole course, and she was never really in danger. It would have been interesting if we had someone taking the C option, because it would have made a difference in the whole dynamics in this group.
Yeah, that was the thing we really saw in the previous, well, in the men's mostly, making the big gaps then and changing the order of things.
And here you can see that Gallantry was very close to Shannon Lund at this point, but she must have lost there on the way to 13 again. She lost already time towards control 12.
You can just see having to back off the pace to kind of read that map if you're not quite got that clear picture in your head of what you're doing at that point. And, you know, that just changes some meters really as well. So it's incredibly tactical about where you're kind of looking at your map, where you want to put your energy, and especially towards the end of a course like this. They're so short, it's only 2K, which for orienteering is incredibly short, but the speed these athletes are going, it's incredible. So, Natalie Gempeler, Ida Egervik Christensen, they join Tove Alexandersen and Andrina Benjaminsen into the final. Today's final coming up very, very shortly after the last semi-final for the women.
This is Ingeborg Rygg Eikeland.
Yeah, making her senior debut for Norway, and she's got into the semi-finals of a KO sprint, which is very, very incredible. Venla, are you there? The Finn. Just looking out there, we've got
Josefin Lind, Barbara Matejkova, and Victoria Hestad Björnstad as well. And of course, Simona Abersold, maybe the big favorite for this heat.
This is quite an interesting heat. We've got the experience in the class of Simona Abersold, but then we've got a lot of kind of newer, younger names as well.
It's usually the heat you want to avoid, because you get at least recovery time to the final. And for me, it's such a surprise by Simona Abersold. She often picks the one where you have then the semi-final at the end, or second last one, and then you have the last one of the, or quarterfinal, and then the second last of the, or the last of the semi-final. And for me, it's really, I don't really understand it tactically. She's so strong, and she should be able to at least make it through in the second group or the first group.
So two of them have chosen C, Venla Harju and Ingeborg Rygg Eikeland. But Simona Abersold, I mean, she's actually not got that great form over the knockout sprint. She's not always been in the medals, especially when she's often kind of making it through to the final, but she's not always kind of been in those medal positions. And we kind of always expect her to pick up a medal every single time she's racing, and actually possibly this is her weakest discipline. So, I mean, it's quite a high bar. But she's obviously, it's home terrain for her. Big emphasis on the sprinting at the moment, and she says she's in good form. So,
at least most probably not the one she has most confidence about, because just picking this last or second last semi-final, for me it shows that she doesn't feel confident if she would meet Andrine Benjaminsen and Tove Alexandersen. I mean, if you look at,
I think her aim is to get into the final rather than to get a medal. She just wants to get there.
I mean, if you look at you see Hanna Lundberg, Andrine Benjaminsen and Tove Alexandersen, they must feel very confident with the knockout sprint, because they are not afraid meeting each other in a semi-final. But of course, I mean, that's a tactics as well. You get the points if you make it. It's maybe an easier way to the final. You get the World Cup points. Well, fair enough. But at the World Championships, when it's all about the medals, I don't know if it's a good tactics. But
well, we will see. This is, first indication of how people's winters have been from this year. Simona Abersold's been talking about she had a great winter. Winter before last, she was trying to struggle with a few injuries. I think she's had a much better kind of training block this year, and she feels very quick, and she's gone out into the lead. She may be feeling a little bit more confident this time. I mean, it makes sense to me for Simona Abersold to be pushing out the lead here. She wants to really be in control of this race, and actually that's part of signalling the confidence, although...
You see how much confidence the other have, or trust in Simona Abersold. But of course, here it's the same as in the first semi-final. She has no interest in at all in a slow semi-final here. She will do her kind of competition position and try to set the pace here and not let the others get in front.
No, and at this point still all going these same routes. And we have Barbara Matikova in towards the back, Ingeborg Eikeland. Both of those fairly young athletes. But for Matikova was the only Czech athlete to make it through to the quarterfinals in the women's arm. So that was quite a surprise for me.
There's no one in the men's either.
Not into the semi-finals.
No, not in the semi-final.
But yeah, those two younger athletes just dropping a little bit off the back on the pace here. And yeah, Simona Aebersold really wanting to make it a fast pace from early on. We really can see that as she starts kind of stringing them out and we get the gaps opening up. We've got Hestad Bjornstad there, we've got Josephine Lind in third place, Venla Hayu in fourth. Then we've got Ingeborg Eikeland in fifth and the Czech athlete Barbara Matikova into sixth. But Simona Aebersold, she is looking fearless here.
And it's the same thing we have seen in the first semi-final, that here at the first time and there's basically no orienteering to do, it's just running. You can see that the gap really opens. It's where she can set the pace. And you have two runners that are able to more or less follow, and then there's another gap. Actually, Matikova worked her way up again.
Yeah,
from position 6
Hayu's
to
dropped back
4.
actually there. Now let's see if they're prepared for this section in the gardens. Well, Aebersold is.
Yeah, there's just one runner needed to be prepared, and then everyone else can follow.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's looking very strong here. Hestad Bjornstad into second, Lind into third, Matikova in fourth.
We know that Harju and Eikeland have the C option, so there's a chance again for them to get back and maybe get a better position.
Yep, Aebersold has B. Of course, it's, you know, they have the steps to contend with here. It's not just the distance that they're looking at. It's the ease of navigation. It's the steps. It's so tricky here. But she looks well prepared for this sequence of controls. Do some people maybe pick early and then try and memorize some of these controls? Or do they all, when they're doing the runner's choice?
I don't think you'd have no time to memorize in this. As you said, here in this section, there's so much information. I mean, it's not difficult. It's just the overload of information that makes it hard to read everything. And that's why I think in the runner's choice, you look at the one and you pick the one that's easiest to understand for yourself.
So these are the two who had C, maybe catching. Oh, I was going to say they caught up a little bit of time, but they really didn't, and they are basically in the same order that we saw previously. So Simona Aebersold with a gap here. This is a decent gap here for the home athlete, the Swiss athlete, one of the favourites. And we have Hestad Bjornstad and we have Lind in second and third.
And usually the differences in the physical ability just kick in after a few minutes of running. So for her, it looks very good here.
Yeah, and actually she, again, doesn't want to spend too much energy in this. If she can get a good gap and then maybe, you know, she's not having to absolutely sprint out the last section, that's probably good for her, especially with the final coming really close.
She won't start with this kind of slowing down until control 13, but if she feels at control 13, because it's very easy to see if you look at the map that it's rather easy from there. If you're in the lead at control 13, and it's also a kind of in and out situation, so you get quite a good overview where the others are. Then you might be able to just slow down about like 3 to 5%, and that makes quite a big difference when it comes to tiredness.
So we have Hestad Bjornstad coming in the other direction, which we think was a little bit slower, and now they go towards control number 12. Another fairly simple one before the last route choice.
There's the quarantine at this point.
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
see it
They're
to the right.
warming up for the final. Watching some of their runners that they're going to be against still doing their course. Here's the control then, and then we'll see it coming out of this. And look at the gap, it's huge.
She's going to the right. Victoria has to Bjornstad as well. Yeah, all of them going to the right. There's still an option to go slightly different on the second part of the route choice, but that would be slower then.
Yeah, we saw that from Hannah Lundberg in the first semi-final. So there's still options, and in fact, these kind of group of three could still change positions. And this, the Czech athlete is really impressing here. She paced this one to perfection. This would be a real turn up for the books if she's managed to do this. And you could maybe see Josephine Lind just kind of deciding, was there a different route choice that she wanted to go, and ultimately going the same way here.
And now there would be the chance to go to left. You can see it here, and I don't think that's faster.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. No, they are to the right on this passage. No, that shouldn't be quick. Oh, she's going through the park.
That is an option.
They're
all going through the
But
park.
it's more work to do it.
So many turns here.
I would have gone around.
Yeah, me
but
too.
It's not bad. It's not very bad. It's more work to do. Here's Abersold at the control, but more interesting
Abersold.
behind.
Hesa Bjornstad is here.
She coming soon as well.
Lind, yeah, where's the Czech athlete?
Here.
Yeah, that's the route choice. That's the Lundberg route choice that's really pushed her back down there for me. So it's clear work here for Abersold. And Hesa Bjornstad looks in a great position to also qualify. Lots of cheers then for the Swiss athlete. A big favourite here on her home soil. And she's going to make it through easily here. But it's going to be a tight turnaround for the final. Victoria Hesa Bjornstad looks good in second place for Norway. And pretty decent gaps at this point. And I think it's only a matter of a nice little jog into the finish then for Simona Abersold. She's just got to remember to punch this last control. There we go. And a big smile, a relief there. I think that kind of shows her, as you discussed it before, lack of confidence. But she's got time to smile and to wave at the crowd, which is impressive stuff here from the Swiss.
Very impressive, very good speed there. I mean, lack of confidence. I don't know, it's just maybe not seen on this performance in the semi-final itself. It's more seen over the whole competition in how she puts her tactics throughout the whole day.
But Matikova, the Czech athlete, one to watch, surely, because she ran really well and had some great speed, but just that route choice at the end pushed her down. And, you know, who knows what she can do in her years to come as a senior athlete.
And also very well done by Victoria Hesa Bjornstad. She took many good decisions on the last part of the course, then making it possible for her to finish in second spot and go all the way to the final.
Indeed. So again, a lot of, you know, the women's races tend to be a little bit more spread out compared to the men's, and a little bit kind of different in the tactics, where, you know, maybe more time can be won and lost on those choices. But Simona Abersold looking very, very happy. And you could see that the other athletes were just running along the streets outside the quarantine, and really, gosh, I mean, the athletes rack up so many kilometers on days like this. It's incredibly taxing.
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
I mean, today it's not as bad as it could be, because they had the qualification yesterday. We have had World Cup races where they had the qualification, the quarterfinal, semi-final, and the final at the same day, and then of course that's a tough one.
If you get through, that could be like 30k in one day.
It's also, I mean, you have to warm up in the beginning, then between the heats you have to kind of work out the lactate you have in your muscles. You want to do some active recovery, and then you're adding just another meters and kilometers to it. So it's a tough day. It's a tough day.
It is, but they, you know, they've kind of figured, you know, they've really changed the kind of trainings to be able to account for this as well, haven't
Of course,
they?
but also, I mean, if we have seen that many times, just as an indication on how tough it is at World Championships, the ones going all the way to the final often struggle in the individual sprint later on. Now today we had Yannick Michels not making it to the quarterfinal even. Then Max Peter Beimer. We had other runners missing in the
Ethan
semi-final.
Dongen, Charlotte Ward didn't qualify.
Exactly, they have an
from the
advantage tomorrow then, definitely, because they don't add as many kilometers to their count.
Yeah, we had Mika Kirmela knocked out, Emil Frenk, Thomas Krivda, Kasper Fossa, of course, knocked out in those quarterfinals. But we won't talk too much about the quarterfinals because we should talk about the men's final now, and we're getting ready for the preview of another course. And first indication of what challenge awaits them. Only 2.3 kilometers with the 14 controls that they're going to see. Again, we're going to have an arena passage coming through here in the sunshine in Olten, in some of the old town, some of the kind of garden sections as well. It's quite interesting as they manage to kind of open up different sections of the city as well for the runners to go through. It means maybe makes it a little bit more tricky to kind of prepare as well. But this is our first look at the course then.
And I mean, it's kind of the same characteristics of the course, at least in the beginning. It starts again with this typical city sprint. You go into this part where we've seen the last semi-final in the women's entering to get through to the 13th control. Not that hard to find, especially if you have seen the entrance to the west there. Then a long route to control 3, very interesting, especially in these finals where we've seen that they're actually splitting up and doing quite much of the work themselves. They all want to win, they all want to end up in the top 3. At control 5 we turn back, or control 4 already towards the arena. 4-5 a bit change of, as we had it before, kind of an overload of information, many things happening within just a few seconds. And then the last loop here, you entering this very much old town bit, and very decisive as I think then control 12 to 13. There's no real route choice from 13 to 14 as I reckon, but 12-13 you can either go back or all the way around and approach from the steps from the north to 13. I think it's good to go away around down to the river. But, well, let's see. I mean, this is an interesting one. It could be one of these legendary bits where we see the decisions, or the decision on the second last control and the last route choice. And here we have the runners who made it all the way to the final.
Yeah, for me as a commentator and getting the opportunity to pre-run the courses as well, I'm always looking for that kind of maybe route choice in the end, opportunity for someone to take a risk and get ahead, or make a wrong route choice and really, really fall behind. So they kind of get ready to line up, and of course they will now know that there was no runner's choice being picked. There could still be some kind of forking going on,
but
some
I mean,
loops.
historically seen, we know that there's no forking, but it never matters, because usually what we see in these finals, in the knockout sprint, is that every runner wants, I mean, you made it to the final, you win quite many of the World Cup points anyway, so what you want to do now is you want to win it, you want to end up on the top 3. That's usually what we see. It doesn't matter if it's unforked, they are splitting up anyway.
Yeah, Joey Haddon here won his heat. We just saw Thomas Heckler as well, the Finn, also winning his heat. Very, very kind of fast end. We know Joey Haddon's really got the speed and the pace. Martin Rayborn as well, he was very, very strong in the closing stages. Now we've got Jonathan Gustafsson, who didn't miss punch. It was a graphic that came up. We thought he missed punch. He didn't miss punch.
Because they had to change his option from the runner's choice in the last a second. I think they kind of missed to put it into the system or something like that.
Yeah, that
That's
could be a good explanation actually. And we saw Timo Oksanen there at the end as well. He does have a top 10 in a sprint at a World Cup. So they line up here. They've each got their maps rolled up. Again, it's a double-sided course here. And these last 6 will make it through to the final. So medals at play here in this first round of the World Cup here in Switzerland. And again, it's really interesting. This is a setup, I guess, for these World Championships in Edinburgh very soon. And this is leisurely start. My goodness me. They all want to sit back here. Nobody wanting to take the lead, particularly Timo Oksanen was the one who I think got in the lead first.
But why should you? I mean, there's no real route choice to the first control. But as you mentioned, it's an interesting setup. Many of the runners here not a big surprise to make it to the final. They were either very strong in the qualification, in the quarterfinal, or then kind of throughout the season. Except for me, I mean, Timo Oksanen, I think it's the first time we see him kind of going that far in knockout sprint. But also he was very strong throughout the day and in the qualification. And this is going to be very interesting to see, and how they are going to... You can see definitely that the tactics here, it's not a fast run so far.
No.
Maybe it will change now with the first route. I mean, as soon as we have one runner going in on another route choice, everyone will speed up and go full speed, because then you are in the risk to lose positions and time.
Yeah, because if that other runner goes really quickly, then they could just completely overtake. So, yeah, you've also kind of got to be aware of what's going on behind you. If you're one of those runners at the front and someone else picks up the pace on another route choice, you've really got to kind of be careful there. It looked like it's picked up a little bit as they spread out a little bit more, but not loads here. And Joey Haddon doing exactly what he did in the semi-final, sitting back at the back of this pack at the moment, just kind of keeping it stress-free and letting the others do the work.
But still, all together, they won't split up at this position, at least for another 100 meters.
Sorry.
Then there's a chance to go either to the left or to the right, but I think that everyone will go and follow to the right, just in front there, as you can see. Yeah.
I'll always remember like
everyone going to the left.
A chasing forest course in Finland at the World Cup, where I think Joey Haddon didn't open his map until the second half of the race.
Yeah, actually he was just showing, just gets to show off. He rolled it up together again and headed to the camera. But here we are at control 3. You can see no one went on another route altogether still.
There is a bit of a choice here, but for me it makes sense to kind of keep continuing straight on rather than going back up and round. And they go round this building again. All very, very close together there at the moment. Still Timo Oksanen in the lead.
And now they enter this area where I said before, from the next control from 4 to 5. It's quite narrow. You have to take quite many short decisions on very narrow paths. So it gets a bit more nervous in this section. And then you have a bit time from 5 to 6. Then we have the arena passage. And after that, I think they will really speed up and try to make a difference here. You can see here we have it very narrow, many left and right decisions.
Yeah, so Oksanen, Regborn, Gustafsson. Then we have Heikkilä, then looks like it's Suter and Joey Haddon in the back then. No problems there. And then now they split up.
Suter.
Oh, I don't think it's good to go right.
No, why would you do that?
I would have gone this way.
Yeah, you can do that. Actually, you can go in and take the passage. It's okay, I think. Doesn't matter that much. That's my guess. But now you can see that how the speed changes. You see that they came all together, so it didn't matter too much.
Yeah, all
but
back again.
You can
Is that Martin
feel that
Regborn in the lead now?
People now start to look for a decision, look for different ways.
So they're just about to come through the arena passage now in these small kind of back streets here in Olten. They turn left and now they're into the arena passage, and there's really not much left to go of this course. And we have Martin Regborn in the lead, then we have Gustafsson, and then we have Oksanen.
And now you can see that Joey Haddon is working his way up the field now.
Yeah,
in
he's
the
now
lead.
just gone into the lead.
It seems like a tactical approach. He was behind, we could see it, you said it, mentioned it, he was behind, controlling the situation. Now he's really changing tactics, going up, trying to be in the driver's seat through this last section.
Yeah, this was super clear for me. The intention here for Joey Haddon just to go from the back to the front on this easy section here And now we're in the final stages of this race. They've gone to control number 9 on their way
You can
now.
see now Suter trying to get a better position in the group, but didn't really make it. It's a small gap there between the 4th and the 5th position. It's no real route choice to this control 10. Then there's a easy one to 11. Kind of a route choice, but not really to 12. But then 12-13 is going to be the interesting one.
12-13 will be decisive. I think they could all possibly go the very similar way, though, for me. But we're going to catch them up, hopefully, as they come through this little gap here. And they are...
See it here, 11, 12. I guess that they will take the passage in between, a bit to the west from the red line. You can see it, yeah, all of them going there. But then 12-13, either you go back and then to the east down to the river and follow the river to 13, or then you back out again and take the steps down to 13.
Here they go then, and there's 2 different ways here, but they're going, very different ways here. Some of them, I think, have gone that steps way. Going up and back down there.
And we are already at 12-13, so now they're
so
splitting
those
up.
2 runners were going up and back down, and they've got to do the steps. Timo Suter's doing the same, and I think this is not good.
And Hadon take the steps. Thomas Heikkilä, Riekborn Uksanen.
Here they are then, Hadon
all together
neck
again.
and neck here at the last,
And now we have
control.
a short climb up to the last control.
Yeah, let's see who's able to do this. We know Joey Hadon is fantastic in the climb, and look at him. He's really hit out on the sprint here. He is in the lead. We've got Jonathan Gustafsson into 2nd, and we've got Heikkilä into 3rd, and it looks like Joey Hadon is going to be able to take the win here. He's being chased down by the Swede, but it is Joey Hadon who can take the win here. Just ahead of Jonathan Gustafsson and Thomas Heikkilä into 3rd. Martin Riekborn completes into 4th place. Timo Suter into 5th.
And it was actually very good for Hadon that he has this climb, because you could see how fast Gustafsson was just on the last meters. Here on the graphics, it's actually Gustafsson in lead, but I think it was Hadon was a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Very hard
it was
to
definitely
say from
Hadon
our
who
position.
I'm almost certain it was Hadon who crossed the line first. Gustafsson was looking very strong on that last stages, but I think the climb for Joey did really well. He was pushing really hard at that climb and hitting that top speed very, very early on, and just managing to maintain that. I thought he was going to be out of it from that route choice from 12 to 13. He definitely dropped back some meters, but he still had the speed at the end. The confidence going down those steps was incredible, incredible work, and he is so intentional from Joey there in the tactics.
But I mean, you could really feel it throughout the course, how it was building up the excitement. I mean, in the beginning there was a lot of just positioning, just going kind of, getting through the course to the arena passage, and then Hadon did his first attack to, control 8, 9, and then this route choice 12, 13 definitely split up everyone. You could see that they were well prepared and you were to go split it up, I think in 2, 3 different groups, and then Hadon in the climb to the last control just was... Actually, there he was very much quicker than the others. I would say that Gustafsson was quite much quicker on the last meters compared to Hadon, but then it was too late already.
And there's another top 3 there for Jonathan Gustafsson. I mean, for me, it's just a matter of time before he takes the win, I think, on one, because he's always so up there. And this was this clash. Just the flying around that change of direction to punch that control. And then, keep that agility to keep that speed up around those corners. And you could see he had that gap here to make that change of pace, just gritting his teeth. You could see he's looking back. That's not always a good sign when they're looking back, but he was fighting all the way to the end. I think Gustafsson may be good in those final few meters, but it wasn't enough to take it from Joey Hadon. So a Swiss win here in Switzerland. Will it be another one coming up in the women's race? They start in less than 5 minutes' time. And then just a recap of the GPS tracking here.
You can see that was the first time where we actually had different route choices from 5 to 6. Jonathan Gustafsson going to the right, everyone else to the left. And then here Hadon kind of with an attack to control 9. And then, you can see it exploded at control 12. They just split it up on different route choices. it was to expect when you look at the course. I mean, in other races we have seen runners splitting up early, trying to get away. It would have been a chance to do so from 2 to 3. No one felt that there is a need to do that. Everyone felt strong enough to make a difference in the very end. I mean, if you look at the result, you can understand why. Almost everyone is in the fight for the victory at the second last or third last control. So if you look at it like this from a runner's view, I think it was a good tactics for them.
Yeah, fantastic work here. And I think we're going to possibly hear from our winner coming up. Just those 7 minutes of running around this course, incredibly quick. And now we can build up, I guess, towards the women's.
Joey, congratulations for an excellent performance. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, it was tricky from the beginning. The qualification already was tricky course, but I felt really strong today. I had my tactics. I worked a lot to get myself in the right mood and have the right tactics. And today it played out. I followed my plan. I learned a lot from my teammates, and now today I could take the victory, and really grateful for that.
You spoke about the tactic at the beginning. You was always a bit behind, 5th and 6th position. Was that tactically? And then taking the lead in front of the crowd here in the area.
Yeah, right. I mean, I knew they had some good physical shape and some good last kick. And I was afraid that I made a mistake in the beginning. So I was just following the group, looking how they are doing. And in the end, yeah, hopefully to have the best legs. But now in the final, I really saw the last 4 controls. I knew every route, so I attacked from the arena passage, and I'm really happy. It ended in the win, but some meters more, and probably some guys will pass me.
Eine Frage dürfen wir auch noch auf Schweizerdeutsch. Joey, erzähl mal, wenn man in der Hälfte hier durchkommt, durch das super Publikum, wie fühlt sich das an?
Ja, es war fantastisch. Also, nicht wegen nichts habe ich nachher hier im Finale den letzten Kick angefangen. Es ist unglaublich, immer Schweiz zu laufen. Mega schön, es war extrem laut. Und dann auf den letzten Meter. Ohne euch wäre so etwas nicht möglich. Danke vielmals fürs Anführen.
Merci vielmals, Joey Hadorn.
Great work from Joey. And obviously he's talking about the tactics. We could totally tell there was a very, very tactical race there from Joey. And we've only got seconds to go then until the start of the women's race. Just a reminder of that is how it looks. I wonder if it will get that close on the women's race. As we have 6 women lining up, ready to go. Tove Alexanderson, Andrina Benjaminsen, Natalia Gempela, Ida Egevi Christiansen, Simona Abersold and Victoria Heistad Bjornstad. In here, all pretty established names have made it through to this final for the women's knockout. Lots and lots of experience in there for me, and I'm sure we'll see them, battle it out, but still lots to play for.
I mean, if there is a name a bit less experienced, maybe it's Ida Egevi Christiansen, but she looked so strong throughout the day, so she definitely deserves this place in the final. But yeah, otherwise there's a lot of experience, there's a lot of sprint talent kind of in this final, so no bigger surprise here to see those runners. Maybe, I mean, the tactics throughout the days with the choice of the heats made it in a way that we couldn't see Hanna Lundberg here. That would maybe have been a name otherwise we could have expected. But, well, now we have those 6 runners here, and they are going to fight on exactly the same course as the man for the victory today.
So our favourite here possibly for this race, our current world and European champion in this discipline, such an all-rounder, but Natalia Gempela hit the front in her semi-final, and for me that just kind of shows her confidence as well. Former Russian, now running for Switzerland, made the change last season. And Juna Burney-Minson, she paced her semi-final so well and took a good route choice, was able to benefit from the wrong route choice of Hannah Lundberg, and looked very good in the closing stages too. Now we have Simona Abersold here, getting ready for her route. Looks a little bit nervous, but she's had a good winter, and she's already managed to do a good sprint finish at Tiomila this year. Ida Agve Christiansen, maybe one of the least experienced in this final, but such a quality runner as well. She really impressed in the semi-final as well. And Victoria Heistad Bjornstad is the second Norwegian in this lineup. Again, such a quality athlete, and one of the younger ones in this group, but still has a lot of experience too. So these 6 athletes line up ready for their course. They unfurl their mats, and no surprises as we see Simona Abersold and Tove Alexandersen hit the front. Now Simona Abersold's going to want to try and push the pace here. She really does, and the others slot in behind her. So there's no likelihood of it being this straight race. As we've seen, it's exactly the same as the men's course.
So they have first control in this small park, and the second control there as well. So 1 to 2, very short one. Then the route choice to control 3, and it will be interesting to see if we have the same kind of lineup for this race here as in the men's final, if there is anyone trying to get on another route choice. You can see that Simona Abersold pushing very hard in the beginning, already with a small gap compared to Gempele. Heistad Bjornstad coming from the right there. Alexanderson more with Joey Haddon tactics, a little bit behind in the beginning. But now interesting it's going to be when they exit this park to see if they're going to split up. We have to be a bit patient because there is another about 100-150 meters before the possibility for this split is coming.
Yeah, they all went out the same way out of this park, exactly the way they went in. So kind of looking very, very familiar for them now. And they head out towards the main track. And
I could see some hesitation there. Almost, I think if it would have been an individual sprint, then Natalia Gempele would have gone to the left.
Yeah, they're really kind of spreading out wide here, which is kind of very different to what we've seen previously.
Yeah, but you know, it's also, if you go a bit more to the right there, then you see a little bit further around the corner. I think that's why you want to go a bit more to the right at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. There's opportunities for some route choice again here, but it's also you've got to contend with some of this traffic too, the buses and everything, and try and get a good look at these little routes in between the controls.
Again, you could see that they almost split up.
Yeah, they nearly do, and we've got the Dane kind of just off the back there, but pretty close here at the moment. Still Simona Abersold in the lead, followed by Tove Alexandersen, followed by Natalia Gempele, then the 2 Norwegians, then the Danish athlete. And you can see them coming through here. This is the third control. Oh, she goes back.
It's a bit surprising that she's doing that. It's always, I mean, it's not a big difference. It's a good route, but it's just that you have to, it takes energy to stop and to accelerate again. I think it might even be a little bit faster, but it takes energy to do so.
I think it was a little bit faster there, and the 2 Swiss go in the lead, and they're about to surprise some members of the public through here. I mean, to be good at this, it's not just the high speed you have to have, it's that acceleration and deceleration. Yeah. It's the agility you have to turn on those corners as well. In the physicality, it's not just about running fast. Of course, a lot of it is about running fast, but it's those skills you've got to hone as well. And now you get to this kind of garden section. A lot of information comes at you very, very quickly, but still Abersold has taken this lead. Then Alexandersen, who just looks like she's sitting there ready to pounce. We know how quick her speed is, and she was a good way ahead of the others. She's also a little bit fresher, having been in that first semi-final.
And now we are at control 5. We have control 6 coming now. That's the control where we had the first time kind of a split up in the men's final, and then very soon the arena passage and the very last section, the decisive section. Simon Abersol going on the same route as Jonathan Gustafsson.
And we saw this was fairly similar, neck and neck, when we saw it previously. Of course, she's been through this point already in the semi-finals, so she kind of knows what it's like. And we found they were really quite similar in terms of the pace here. Let's see who comes out to the control first. She does.
But not
by much at all. Then we have about to have this arena passage then.
And let's see now if it's kind of the same tactical game they're playing here. If there's anyone accelerating at the arena passage, getting into a good position towards control 8 and 9.
And on paper, this is who the three I think we'd have expected to have a little bit of a gap along the rest. There are three favourites, Alexanderson, Abersold and Gempeler. And they're on their way through this arena passage now. Lots and lots of Swiss flags to cheer them on their way. And Abersold is just a couple of metres ahead of Alexanderson. Gempeler looking nice and composed in second place. And you can see the gaps kind of growing and diminishing just as they take a few extra seconds to look at the map.
But still,
and you can say Joey Haddon knew all his routes for these last three controls at this point. I'm sure these women do too.
But no one of them is kicking in another gear at this point yet. So kind of different approach compared to the men's race. Yet we'll see probably the decision here as well between control 12 and 13.
Yep, so they're on their way to control number 10, which is right by the river. Simona Abersold still in the lead, but this is really exciting to see these three women still battling it out at this point. We tend to see more gaps in the women's races, but not between these three. They are all incredibly, they are the best in the world, these three.
And now Alexanderson is going up there, trying to get a better position as it seems, but still Abersold in the lead.
Yeah, and Gempeler just going a little bit wide. You can see she's really looking closely here. I'm not sure if any of them look to their left to see this passageway through here.
She has basically been leading now for the whole course, throughout the whole course. Now we are at control 11, so it's a one control to 12, and then we gonna see the decision between 12 and 13.
Yeah, this one is going to be super interesting to see. It wasn't as decisive as I thought. Well, I don't know. I think Joey had a lot of bit of time there, but Simona Abersold is going to be the first one into it. You can see them all really close looking at their maps, and she goes back out the same way. All three of them go the same way. That's super interesting. They maybe didn't see the different options, and they're all going to go around.
Abersold looked really strong physically so far. Ooh. You have to be careful not to turn in there, so you have to follow the river here.
Yeah, they're going to go down on the slope rather than on the stairs.
Alexanderson tries to put in another gear now.
She really
tries
does.
To pass Abersold, and now she is actually in the lead for the first time throughout this course.
Yeah, she's managed to get that gap on this flat section at the bottom, and she's really working hard. So too is Abersold. They're really trying to all time it now, but they've just got a few steps of running. It's not over yet, I think.
But now the climb is coming towards the last control. It's the Haddon climb here.
It is the Haddon climb. Is it the Swiss climb, though? I'm not sure. As Tova Alexanderson puts her foot on the gas, and she's trying to get meters ahead of the other runners. She's managing to do it, and who's going to take second place? Because I don't think it's definitely Simona Abersold. Oh, Gempeler just thought she missed it, but she didn't. She managed to get the punch. She's going to be in third place as Alexanderson chooses the right time to go into the lead. Simona Abersold into second place. Natalia Gempeler completes the top three with a second Swiss runner across the line. I think she's gutted about that punch there on that last one, because I think she was possibly had a quicker speed than Abersold. But there we go, our top three with a big gap back to Victoria Hestad Bjornstad in fourth, Agave Christiansen into fifth, and then we have I think Andrina Benjaminsen in across the line in sixth place.
I think it was, in some way, it was a very different race compared to the men's final, and the other way it was very similar. We had one runner with a very clear tactics throughout the course, a bit behind Tove Alexandersson. Throughout the whole course, she knew exactly where she wants to make the difference, and she was, kicking in that different gear just beside the river on the way to control 13, and you could see that no one else was able to follow. The tactics, obviously, by Simon Abersold was to take the lead and try to get away, try to get a good position, and hope for kind of a mistake from Alexandersson, or for her not being able to respond on her kind of tactical response. Now today, Alexandersson was the strongest one in the finish on the last meters.
But she's never really been pushed that hard before. Like so many other times we've seen Tove Alexandersson be in the lead, trying to set the pace, trying to get a gap early on. So maybe
it's still early in the season. She is dancing at so many weddings at the same time. It's so
doing so many sports. Yeah.
I mean, it's why should she be in the best knockout sprint shape right now? I think she played her cards exactly right for the shape she is in at the moment, and well, it paid off. It totally did, and I think that she's gonna be even more dangerous in about 1 or 2 months when we get to the World Championships.
Yeah, just under 2 months until those World Championships in Edinburgh, and I mean, still we have a lot of these runners who put those hard kind of winter miles in, those longer miles, and they've got a lot of that kind of short interval sessions to kind of come in that season when they're really going to try and peak and get their peak physical fitness, of course, at the World Championships. But doing well here is such a boost of confidence as well, to kind of have that first opportunity, especially over a sprint distance, to kind of test your speed against the other athletes.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it boosts your self-confidence, especially if you know that you haven't been training sprint as much as all the others, and then you get to the first World Cup race and you win it anyway. So yeah, that's a big boost of your confidence. But does she really need it? No, probably not.
I was going to say, does she really need it? Yeah, I'm not really sure she does. She's closing down on 20 World Championship titles. So if anyone's got confidence, it's going to be Tove Alexandersson. We just have a little check of these route choices. Most people going very similar routes here, of course. In fact, obviously, all those top 3 going the same way around the bottom here for Control 13, which you can't see on the map there. And I think we're going to hear from the winner, I believe, very shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was the moment where Tove Alexandersson got ahead of the others. Just managed to pull ahead of Simone Abersold on this flat part by the river.
In one way, it was a bit a pity that they were so well prepared at Control 12, because otherwise there would have been a chance that we see different route choices. But now they picked, all of them have decided
but
that
they all picked the good one, and that just
exactly.
shows what class they are. They all picked the best route choice.
Yeah.
So that for me shows how great and how well prepared they were. Although they were all looking at their maps going into Control 12, just to kind of check.
Tell us about your experience during this race.
Yeah, it was a lot of happening already at the first control. Simona was first and Natalia was second, and through the post down on the ground, so it went really messy there, and I was a bit behind. So I get a little bit stressed, but then I was just running behind, and I felt that I had one extra speed to turn in to the end, so I was just running there and waiting until the second last control. My plan was to take the other route choice, but when both Simona and Natalia took the other one, I was thinking that I take the same and put in my extra speed and see if it will work. And I gave absolutely everything I had in the end, and my legs was hurt so much in the end, and I was thinking maybe they will come with some super speed, but so I was just so happy that I could keep the distance to the finish. So
Okay, thank you very much, and congratulations again, Tove Alexandersson.
So it was actually in a different way than we were talking about.
Yeah.
She had the plan to go the other route choice, which would have been probably a bit slower.
Yes, I think so.
But she was very confident in her speed at the very end, and well, she could be paid off.
So interesting to get that kind of sense of, what what was going through her head during that course. And I tell you what, Simone Abasol has got Tove Alexandersen's got so much better at her post-race interviews. It's really good to get an insight of what she's thinking, what she's going through, all of those kind of things, because we haven't always managed to have that kind of insight from her.
And it was interesting to see, because usually you see if a runner prepared something else and then decides to go differently.
To make that decision to change that quickly,
so quick,
that's incredible work. But anyway, we'll turn back to the flower ceremony then for the men's, because again, another incredible race where we saw some very, very clear tactics from the winner. We know the other two on the podium are incredibly quick. You had Thomas Heikler as your favourite for the race. We know he's got good speed, so it's not a surprise to see him on there. And he really just kind of kept out of trouble, kept in the right position in the pack, exactly what we want to see.
But I mean, if you look at the development his like kind of journey he had throughout the last month, and especially the second half of last season, and how good he became in sprint orienteering, that's so impressive. He has been there in every competition lately, so very strong runner, Thomas Heikler, and definitely a name to have on your list for the World Champs.
And consistency, Jonathan Gustafsson.
Especially in the knockout sprint. He knows exactly how to play his physical ability. He's always there when there's a knockout sprint. Kind of the same as before it was always Kiburtz in his way. Now we have another Swiss there. Throwing the shadow at him.
He's doing his marathon training for Paris, but Joey Haddon, the tactics, the speed, the confidence coming from this man.
And the hill running. And the climbing.
The climb. He's so, I mean, some of the relays, isn't it, when we've seen him just pull ahead on those climbs, especially on home soil, and when it's a little bit steeper here. This wasn't the steepest one, but he did so well. And it's very, very clear tactics for me from Joey Haddon to sit right at the back. He did the same for the semi-final, he did the same for the final. He just sat right at the back, and then he pulled ahead here. And in fact, the guys are just in front of us as we sit on this podium, basically, and strong work from these three runners. Take the top three this first round of the World Cup 2024. Going to give them great confidence boost going into tomorrow's race, into next weekend's race when the World Cup goes straight to Italy. We have a sprint and a sprint relay there as well, and amazing work from the three of them. Joey Haddon chucks his flowers into the crowd. I think Jonathan Gustafsson had the best throw there into the crowd.
Most energy left, maybe.
Maybe the most energy left. And then we will move straight on to the women's. Oh, Simone Abasol has to get up onto the stage. And we will award the flowers for the women's race. And here again, this was a case of some of the three always ranking amongst the best in the world, and we're so used to being on these podiums, these three, so much experience. I mean, I wish I had the stat to hand as to how many World Championships and World Cup medals they had between them, because it is a significant collection, I tell you. For these three women, they have fantastic results between them, and Natalia Gempler was again pretty much always in the top three here. I thought she might have snuck second place, but had to just check that punch at that last control, not wanting to take any risks. Might wanted to maintain that third place. Some good world ranking points and World Cup points, of course, as we measure their achievements over the course of the season.
Second place.
I was so impressed by Simone Abasol today. She just went to the front here. She wanted to control this race, and I nearly thought she'd done it. Did quite outpace compared to Tove Alexandersen. She was making all decisions at the front of the pack. She made a good route choice around the end as well. Strong work.
Very end, it might have been the choice to be in Heat 5 that made a bit of the difference from the last control, second last control up to the finish, or the last control.
Yeah.
it is just less recovery you get, and I mean, you heard how tired Tove Alexanderson was. She didn't have a lot of energy left, Simon Aberson. There's no possibility that she had a lot of energy left in the finish either, so maybe with a bit of a different choice, but then question, would you make it to the final? Because Hanna Lundberg went out there as well.
So many ifs and buts.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's great about orienteering, and this is what's even better about this knockout sprint, is that you have so many kind of variables in play, and it's just about executing your race in the moment, doing what you can, and not trying to make any mistakes either. But there we go. Those are the top three then after the knockout sprint finals. Quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals here, all taking place in Alton. Great selection of races. And we will be back tomorrow afternoon, similar time then for the sprint races, where we will see the top 40 ranked in the world going across the classic sprint race, finishing in this same arena. So we will see you then.
See you then.
Eben auch morgen für das Sprintrennen.